Think about that for a moment. Every single choice you make, big or small, is shaping the person you will wake up as tomorrow. We like to imagine that identity is this fixed thing, that who we are is simply who we are. But that's not true. Who we are is built. It is constructed day after day, decision after decision. You don't suddenly become courageous because you faced one big challenge. Courage is built in the little decisions you made long before the challenge arrived. You don't suddenly become disciplined because you decided to run a marathon. Discipline was built in the moments you decided to get up when you didn't feel like it, in the moments when no one was watching. Every choice is a vote, and just like an election, one vote doesn't decide the outcome. But over time, the accumulation of those votes shapes the result. The question is, who are you voting for? Are your choices casting votes for the person you want to be, or for the person you're trying to leave behind? The truth is, our future selves are watching us. Imagine the person you want to be 10 years from now. That version of you is shaped by every micro decision you're making today. What you choose to read, who you choose to spend time with, what habits you allow, and which ones you break. When you pick up your phone first thing in the morning instead of sitting in silence, that's a vote. When you choose to show kindness instead of judgment, that's a vote. When you choose courage instead of comfort, that's a vote. And here's the reality: no one choice will define you, just like no single ballot decides an election. But consistent votes, consistent actions, that's what changes everything. Identity is not declared, it is earned. You can tell yourself, I'm a healthy person. But if your choices vote in the direction of fast food every day, your body will not match the story you tell yourself. You can tell yourself, I'm a leader. But if your choices are self-serving and you only look out for yourself, your team won't see you as a leader no matter what title you have. You can tell yourself, I'm honest. But if you bend the truth every time it benefits you, your character will be decided by your actions, not your words. This is the hard truth most of us try to avoid. Who we are is not what we say we are. Who we are is what we do consistently. I once heard someone describe it this way: every action you take is like casting a ballot. And each ballot goes into a box labeled with a name, your future self. At the end of the day, the box that has the most ballots wins. The person with the most votes is who you become. And now, of course, you'll make mistakes. You'll cast some votes that don't align with who you want to be. That's human. What matters is the pattern. What matters is whether the majority of your choices are casting votes for your vision or against it. That's why small decisions matter more than we think. It's not just about the big choices like taking a job, ending a relationship, moving to a new city. It's about the quiet, daily decisions that nobody notices but you. When you choose to learn instead of scrolling endlessly. When you choose to listen instead of waiting to talk. When you choose to take the hard road instead of the easy one. Those are votes. The person you want to become doesn't show up overnight. They show up slowly, vote by vote, choice by choice. The challenge is that we often underestimate the compounding power of small actions. One chocolate bar won't make you unhealthy. One skipped workout won't make you unfit. One dishonest answer won't make you untrustworthy. But repeated over time, those choices build into something real. Just like a single drop of water doesn't carve the stone, but thousands of drops, over time, can shape mountains. The same is true in reverse. One act of courage won't make you brave. One day of discipline won't make you strong. One generous gesture won't make you kind. But repeated daily, they build an identity. So the real question becomes, are your actions in alignment with the story you want to tell about yourself? It's easy to say one choice doesn't matter, but one choice sets a precedent for the next. Skipping one promise you made to yourself makes it easier to skip the next. Telling one small lie makes it easier to tell a bigger one. Choosing comfort today makes it easier to choose comfort tomorrow. Patterns begin with single decisions. That's why integrity matters so much, not just with others, but with yourself. Integrity isn't about being perfect. It's about alignment between what you say you value and what you actually do. If you say you value growth, then make choices that vote for growth. If you say you value relationships, then make choices that vote for presence, for listening, for kindness. If you say you value courage, then make choices that move you into the arena of discomfort where growth happens. We love to celebrate the big moments. The person who built a business, the person who ran the marathon, the person who stood on stage. But those moments are never created in the spotlight. They're created in the dark, when no one is clapping, when no one is watching. They're created in the private choices that cast a vote day after day for the person they were becoming. Think about it, the great leaders, the extraordinary athletes, the people you admire, they didn't become who they are by accident. They became who they are because they cast consistent votes, often when it was inconvenient, often when no one else cared. They cast votes for discipline, for resilience, for vision. They cast votes for the future version of themselves long before anyone else could see it. And here's the empowering part: you don't need perfection. You just need consistency. You just need to cast more votes in the right direction than the wrong one. You don't need to win every decision. You just need to win most of them. When you really see it this way, life becomes less overwhelming. You don't need to figure out who you're going to be 20 years from now. You just need to make the next choice a vote for that person. One decision at a time, one ballot at a time. So ask yourself, who am I voting for right now? When you pick up your phone, who are you voting for? When you choose to react in anger or with patience, who are you voting for? When you decide how to spend your money, your time, your attention, who are you voting for? You can't control everything about the future, but you can control how you cast your votes today. And when you realize that every decision carries more weight, suddenly the little choices don't feel so little anymore. Suddenly, that moment when you're tired and want to give up becomes an opportunity to strengthen the identity you want. Suddenly, the temptation to cut corners becomes a test of your future self's integrity. Because that's really what this is about: ownership. You don't become someone by accident. You don't stumble into greatness. You don't drift into character. You choose it, you earn it, you build it, one choice at a time. And here's what's beautiful. No matter what choices you've made before, the ballot box resets today. You can start casting votes in a new direction right now. You can begin building a new identity with the very next decision you make. It's never too late to change the outcome of the election of your future self. So when you walk out of here, when you go back into your life, remember, every choice is not just about today. It's about tomorrow. Every choice is not just about comfort now. It's about character later. Every choice is not just about what feels good in the moment. It's about who you're becoming in the long run. It's such a simple statement, but it carries extraordinary weight, because whether we realize it or not, our lives are shaped not by a few massive decisions, but by thousands of seemingly small ones that stack together, choice after choice, until they form the person we see in the mirror. The interesting thing about choices is that they don't just affect the present moment. They accumulate, they echo into the future. Each decision is like casting a ballot in an ongoing election for the kind of person you want to be. The question is, are you paying attention to who you're voting for? When you think about who you want to become, whether it's a better leader, a better parent, a better friend, a healthier person, a more courageous person, it doesn't happen with one big declaration. You don't wake up one morning and say, today I am disciplined, and suddenly everything changes. You don't announce, am strong, and instantly become it. Growth doesn't work that way. Identity doesn't work that way. Who you're becoming is quietly, invisibly shaped in every small moment of decision. Consider the last week of your life. What time did you wake up? How did you handle stress? How did you respond to someone who annoyed you? Did you keep the promises you made to yourself? Did you take steps toward your goals, or did you put them off again? None of these decisions feel monumental in the moment, but collectively they are forming a pattern. That pattern is becoming your character, and your character becomes your destiny. The problem is we often underestimate the power of small actions. We convince ourselves that one little slip doesn't matter, one more excuse doesn't matter, one broken promise doesn't matter. And in isolation, maybe it doesn't, just like one ballot doesn't decide an election, but a ballot added to another ballot and another and another. Over time, the box fills, and the outcome becomes undeniable. That's how we become who we are, quietly, gradually, almost without noticing. And then one day we look at ourselves and realize we become someone, maybe someone we're proud of, maybe someone we're not. But either way, we got there the same way, choice by choice. It's tempting to believe that who we are is simply who we are, fixed and permanent. But the truth is, identity is not declared. Identity is built. You don't say you're trustworthy. You prove it by telling the truth consistently, especially when it's inconvenient. You don't say you're disciplined. You demonstrate it by showing up day after day when it would be easier not to. You don't say you're kind. You embody it by choosing patience over irritation, generosity over selfishness, empathy over indifference. The real test of who we are is not in what we say, but in what we do when no one is watching. It's in the votes we cast in the dark. It's in the choices that never make headlines, the moments that no one celebrates but you. Those are the votes that matter most, because those are the votes that tell the truth. Think about the person you most admire, the leader, the athlete, the friend, the mentor, the hero. They didn't become who they are in one dramatic moment. They became that way through years of consistent choices. They chose discipline over laziness more times than not. They chose courage over fear more times than not. They chose service over selfishness more times than not. They cast their votes wisely, and now we see the outcome. And yet, here's the beautiful part: you don't need perfection to shape your future. You just need consistency. You don't have to win every choice. You just have to win most of them. Think of it like tipping the scales. As long as the majority of your votes are cast in the direction of your future self, you are moving forward. You are becoming. But here's where it gets challenging. Every choice asks us a question: does this action align with who I want to be? Most of the time, we don't pause long enough to ask. We act on impulse. We choose what's easy, what's comfortable, what feels good right now. But the truth is, comfort in the short term often costs us character in the long term. The easy road rarely leads to the place we want to go. There's a reason so many of us set goals and fail to achieve them. It's not because the goal is impossible. It's because our daily choices don't cast enough votes in favor of that goal. We say we want to be healthy, but our choices vote for convenience. We say we want to build strong relationships, but our choices vote for distraction. We say we want to be leaders, but our choices vote for self-interest. The gap between what we say we want and what we consistently choose, that's the gap where dreams die. But the reverse is also true. When our choices line up with our vision, the future becomes inevitable. A person who chooses daily discipline will eventually see the result in their health, in their confidence, in their resilience. A person who chooses daily kindness will eventually be known as compassionate, as trustworthy as someone people want to follow. A person who chooses courage, even in small doses, will eventually become bold enough to face challenges that once terrified them. It's not glamorous, it's not instant. But it works, and it means this every single day you have an opportunity to cast votes for the future version of yourself. Every morning when you wake up, you stand at the ballot box. Every interaction, every decision, every response, it's all a chance to say, this is who I'm becoming. The powerful thing about this perspective is that it gives you ownership. You don't have to wait for circumstances to change. You don't have to wait for someone to give you permission. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You already have the ballot in your hand. You already have the ability to vote. And the more you vote in alignment with your vision, the more inevitable that vision becomes. Now, some of you may be thinking, but I've made so many wrong choices already. I've already cast so many votes for the wrong person. And that may be true. But here's the good news. The election isn't over. You can start casting votes in a new direction today. No matter what's happened before, your next choice is still yours to make. Your next vote is still within your control. The person you want to become is not a dream, it's a direction. And direction is chosen one step at a time. So here's the challenge. Start noticing the small decisions. Start paying attention to the votes you're casting. When you're tempted to quit, remember quitting is a vote. When you're tempted to hide, remember hiding is a vote. When you're tempted to choose the easy way out, remember that too is a vote. But so is perseverance. So is honesty, so is discipline, so is kindness. And ask yourself with every choice, who am I voting for right now? Because the future isn't built on someday, it's built on today. The person you're becoming is not an idea, it's a reality slowly forming with every choice you make. So cast your votes wisely, because in the end, the person you will be is simply the sum of the votes you cast. And the ballot is in your hands right now. At first, it sounds poetic, almost like a line you'd see on a poster or in a book. But if you really sit with it, if you take it seriously, it's not poetry, it's reality. Every choice is a ballot. Every action you take, every response you give, every decision you make is casting a vote for the person you are in the process of becoming. I want you to imagine for a moment that your life is like a giant election. The candidates are not different political parties, they're different versions of you. On one side is the version of you that's disciplined, kind, courageous, and resilient. On the other side is the version of you that gives in to fear, that chooses comfort over growth, that makes excuses instead of progress. Every single day you walk into the voting booth. And the question is, which version of you are you casting your vote for? The thing about elections is that one ballot never decides the outcome. Nobody wins with a single vote. What matters is consistency. What matters is the pattern. And so it is with your life. The person you are becoming will not be determined by what you do once. It will be determined by what you do repeatedly. Here's where most of us get it wrong. We think transformation is about big moments. The promotion, the achievement, the award, the breakthrough. But big moments are just the result of small decisions repeated over time. You don't become a leader when you're given a title. You become a leader when day after day you choose responsibility over blame, service over ego, vision over comfort. You don't become strong when you lift a heavy weight once. You become strong when you cast 100 small votes for discipline, for showing up, for pushing through discomfort. Life doesn't change in the spotlight, it changes in the shadows when no one is watching. The moments you say yes or no in the quiet, that's where identity is forged. Think of it like drops of water hitting a stone. One drop does nothing, but thousands of drops over years can carve valleys, can shape mountains, can transform landscapes. That's what your choices are doing to your character. Slowly, invisibly, but powerfully. The danger, of course, is that we forget this. We tell ourselves the story that one choice doesn't matter. One cigarette doesn't matter. One skipped workout doesn't matter. One white lie doesn't matter. And in isolation, maybe they don't. But when those votes add up, the outcome becomes inevitable. The election is decided not by intention, but by repetition. Identity is not declared, it's earned. You don't become trustworthy because you say you are. You become trustworthy because you've cast thousands of votes for honesty, for integrity, for keeping your word. You don't become resilient by announcing it. You become resilient by making small choices not to quit when quitting would have been easier. You don't become compassionate by talking about kindness. You become compassionate by consistently choosing empathy when judgment would be simpler. What's powerful about seeing your life this way is that it removes the illusion of passivity. You're never neutral. You're always casting votes. Even inaction is a vote for procrastination, for avoidance, for staying the same. That means you're not just drifting through life, waiting to see who you'll become. You're building it. Deliberately or accidentally, consciously or unconsciously, you are becoming someone. And the question is, are you becoming the person you want to be? I want you to imagine your future self 10 years from now. Picture them clearly. Imagine their habits, their relationships, their character, their health, their joy. That version of you is not a stranger. That version of you is simply the accumulation of today's votes. If you want to meet that version of yourself, you need to start voting for them now. And here's the most empowering truth. You don't need perfection. You don't have to cast every single vote in the right direction. No one does. You just need to cast enough votes to tip the balance. You don't need to win every choice. You just need to win most of them. Identity is not about flawless performance. It's about consistent direction. But let's be honest, consistency is hard. Consistency means choosing long-term growth over short-term gratification. Consistency means asking yourself in the heat of the moment, does this choice align with who I want to be? It's easier to ignore the question. It's easier to say, I'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow's ballots don't count today. The only vote that matters is the one you're casting right now. So what does that mean for you? It means the small things matter. The decision to get out of bed when you'd rather sleep in, that's a vote. The decision to put your phone away and be fully present, that's a vote. The decision to speak truth instead of hiding behind half-truths, that's a vote. The decision to push through resistance instead of giving up, that's a vote. Each one small, each one quiet, each one powerful. Now let me tell you something important. The people you admire most didn't become who they are because of one big decision. They became who they are because they cast more votes for courage, for discipline, for vision than for fear, for laziness, for comfort. They weren't perfect. They just won more choices than they lost, and you can too. What's even more remarkable is that your past does not lock you into your future. Maybe you've cast votes in the wrong direction for years. Maybe you've been voting for the weaker version of yourself. That's okay. The election isn't over. You can start casting new votes today. And the moment you do, the outcome begins to shift. Think about it. If you make just one better choice today, you've already tipped the balance slightly. One better choice tomorrow, and the balance tips a little further. Over time, the weight of those small decisions becomes unstoppable. That's why the most important question you can ask yourself is not, who do I want to be someday? The better question is, who am I voting for right now? Because in the end, becoming the person you want to be isn't about hope. It isn't about luck. It isn't about waiting for the right opportunity. It's about ownership. It's about realizing that your future is not something that happens to you. It's something you're building with your choices. So when you leave here today, carry this thought with you: every choice matters. Not because it will change everything in an instant, but because it will change everything over time. Every choice is not just about what feels good right now. It's about who you're becoming tomorrow. And if you're going to become someone anyway, if you're going to end up casting votes whether you realize it or not, then why not cast them with intention? Why not cast them in the direction of the person you'll be proud to meet 10 years from now? Every choice is a vote. Every vote shapes your becoming. And the ballot is in your hands today. So I ask you, who are you voting for? When I first heard this idea, it stopped me. Because it means that the person I am today didn't just happen. I built it. And not with one single decision, but with thousands of small ones that stack together over time. Most of us like to think of life as shaped by a handful of big choices: the school we went to, the job we took, the relationship we entered or left, the city we moved to. But those choices, as significant as they feel, are rare. The truth is, life is shaped by the little things, the quiet things, the choices we make daily when no one is watching, when it seems like they don't matter. Those are the votes that decide the outcome. Imagine your life as a ballot box. Every day you drop slips of paper into it. Some say discipline, some say laziness, some say courage, some say fear, some say kindness, some say selfishness. At the end of each day, it doesn't look like much has changed, but over weeks, over years, the box fills, and eventually the votes are counted. The person you've become is the result. That means something powerful. It means you are not stuck. It means you are not defined by yesterday's choices. It means you can redirect the entire trajectory of your life, starting with the very next vote you cast. But it also means something sobering. You don't become who you want to be by accident. You don't drift into greatness. You don't stumble into character. Becoming is intentional, and the only way to become the person you dream of being is to start voting for them today. Think of someone you admire deeply. Maybe it's a leader, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend. Whoever comes to mind, they didn't become who they are in one grand gesture. They became who they are because they cast vote after vote in the same direction. They chose integrity when it was inconvenient. They chose perseverance when it was painful. They chose humility when pride would have been easier. None of those choices in isolation defined them, but together those votes created someone extraordinary. The challenge is that casting votes doesn't always feel rewarding in the moment. You go for a run and nothing changes. You choose kindness and no one thanks you. You tell the truth and it costs you something. And so it's easy to believe the choice didn't matter. But it did, because the choice wasn't just about the outcome. It was about the identity you reinforced. It was about who you became because of it. That's the hidden power of decisions. Every one of them reinforces or weakens the story you tell yourself about who you are. When you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce that you're reliable. When you break it, you reinforce that you can't be trusted. When you push through discomfort, you reinforce that you're resilient. When you quit, you reinforce that comfort matters more than growth. And so choice by choice, you're building evidence. Evidence of who you really are, not who you say you are, not who you hope to be, but who you consistently choose to be. This is why goals alone don't change us. A goal is an announcement. But choices are evidence. You can declare, I'm going to be disciplined. But unless your choices cast votes for discipline, the declaration means nothing. You can declare, I'm going to be a leader. But unless your choices cast votes for service and vision, leadership is just a title. You can declare, I want to be kind. But unless your choices cast votes for patience and compassion, kindness is only a word. And here's where it gets interesting. The human brain is always watching. It notices every choice you make. And over time, it forms an identity based not on what you said you wanted, but on the evidence you provided. You told yourself you were disciplined. The brain checks the ballot box. Did you consistently act disciplined? You told yourself you were courageous. The brain checks the votes. Did you consistently choose courage? Identity is not built in the mind. It is built in the ballots. Now, that might sound heavy. It might sound like too much responsibility, like you need to get every decision right. But the truth is, you don't. No one wins every choice. You just need to win more than you lose. Like an election, it's not about a perfect record. It's about the majority. If most of your votes align with the person you want to be, then over time you will become them. That means you have room to fail. You have room to stumble. You have room to cast the wrong vote sometimes. Because one bad vote doesn't erase the others. One wrong choice doesn't define you. What matters is the direction, the accumulation, the pattern. And that's what makes this idea so freeing. Because no matter how many wrong votes you've cast in the past, the election isn't over. The box is still open. You can start voting differently right now. And with enough consistent votes, your future can look nothing like your past. I once heard a story about a man who quit smoking. He said, every time I chose not to smoke a cigarette, I imagined casting a vote for the version of me who didn't smoke. At first, the ballots were few. The smoker was still winning. But over time, with every decision, I watched the other box fill, and eventually the non-smoker won. Not because of one grand choice, but because of thousands of small ones. That's what becoming looks like, slow, steady. Often invisible, but inevitable when you keep casting votes in the same direction. So here's the question, who do you want to become? Not someday, not 10 years from now, right now. Who do you want to be in this moment? Because every choice you make today is shaping that. When you're tempted to quit, remember, that's a vote. When you're tempted to take the shortcut, that's a vote. When you're tempted to let fear win, that's a vote. But so is perseverance, so is honesty, so is discipline, so is courage, so is kindness. And when you start to see choices this way, life looks different. A workout isn't just exercise, it's a vote for resilience. A kind word isn't just politeness, it's a vote for compassion. Waking up early isn't just productivity, it's a vote for discipline. Saying no to something harmful isn't just willpower, it's a vote for integrity. Suddenly, the small things aren't so small anymore. They are the election of your future self. And here's the final truth. You are becoming someone whether you pay attention or not. You don't get to opt out. You're always casting votes. The only question is, are you voting consciously or unconsciously? Are you voting for the person you dream of being or for the person you're trying to escape? Every choice matters. Not because one choice will change everything instantly, but because one choice leads to another and another until the direction of your life is undeniable. So I'll leave you with this, the ballot is in your hands. Every decision today is a chance to cast a vote for who you're becoming. And when the election is finally counted, when all the choices are tallied, I hope you'll meet a version of yourself you're proud to call the winner. It sounds simple, almost obvious. But if you really sit with it, it changes everything. Because it means that who you are tomorrow, who you are next year, who you are 10 years from now, that person is not random. That person is not the result of luck. That person is built. And you're building them right now choice by choice. We like to imagine that identity is something we declare. We say, I'm disciplined, I'm kind, I'm courageous, I'm honest. But the truth is, identity isn't declared, it's demonstrated, it's earned. It's built through repetition, through the votes you cast every single day. Imagine carrying a ballot box with you everywhere you go. Each time you make a decision, you slip a piece of paper into it. Some days the paper says discipline. Other days it says excuse. Some days it says courage. Other days it says fear. You may not notice the weight of one piece of paper, but over time that box fills. And when you finally open it, the results are undeniable. The person you've become is simply the candidate that won the majority of votes. Think about that for a moment. The life you're living today, the habits you have, the character you carry, the opportunities you enjoy, or the struggles you face are the results of votes you cast years ago. And the life you'll be living 10 years from now is being shaped right now by the votes you cast today. This is why small choices matter. They are never just about the moment. They are about momentum. They are shaping direction. They are reinforcing identity. The challenge is that we don't often see the connection. One missed workout doesn't make you unfit. One donut doesn't make you unhealthy. One argument doesn't destroy a relationship. One excuse doesn't ruin your character. And so we tell ourselves it's just one choice. It doesn't matter, but it does. Because every choice is evidence. Every choice is a reinforcement of the kind of person you're becoming. If you cast one vote for fear, maybe it doesn't matter. But if you keep casting them, eventually fear wins. If you cast one vote for laziness, maybe it doesn't matter. But if you keep casting them, eventually laziness wins. On the other hand, one vote for courage may feel small, but stack enough of them and you become brave. One vote for discipline may not feel like much, but stack enough of them and you become strong. The person you're becoming is not defined by intention, it's defined by accumulation. Now, let's be honest, this is hard, because the right choice is rarely the easy choice. The right choice often costs you something. It costs comfort, it costs convenience, it costs approval. Choosing discipline means getting up when you'd rather stay in bed. Choosing honesty means telling the truth when lying would be easier. Choosing courage means stepping into discomfort when hiding would feel safe. These are not glamorous moments. No one cheers for them. No one applauds. But these are the votes that matter most. And if you think about it, this is how every great story is written. Nobody becomes extraordinary overnight. Every remarkable leader, every resilient athlete, every inspiring human being you admire, each one of them became who they are not through one grand decision, but through thousands of small ones. They cast their votes daily. They chose integrity even when no one would have noticed if they didn't. They chose perseverance even when giving up was easier. They chose vision even when others laughed. They didn't win every vote, but they won enough. And that's the beautiful part. You don't need perfection. You don't need to cast every single vote correctly. No one does. You just need to tip the balance. If most of your votes align with your values, with your vision, with your future self, then you are on the path of becoming. You are in motion toward the life you actually want. But here's where it gets even more empowering. The election of your life never ends, which means you're never stuck with yesterday's results. Maybe for years you've been casting votes in the wrong direction. Maybe fear has been winning. Maybe comfort has been winning. Maybe excuses have been winning. That doesn't have to be permanent. The ballot box isn't closed. You can start voting differently today. And with enough votes in a new direction, the outcome begins to change. I once met someone who told me about the day they decided to change their life. They were overweight, unhealthy, unhappy. They said, "For years I told myself I would get better one day. But then I realized I've been voting against myself every day. Every meal, every excuse, every skipped promise. I was casting ballots for the person I didn't want to be. So I decided to start voting differently. I went for a walk. Just a walk. It didn't change me overnight, but it was one vote. Then I voted again the next day, and the next. Eventually, the healthier version of me started winning." That's the point. You don't have to transform in an instant. You just have to start voting differently. Think about it the next time you're tempted to procrastinate, you have a ballot in your hand. Will you cast it for avoidance or for progress? The next time you're tempted to lash out in anger, you have a ballot in your hand. Will you cast it for bitterness or for patience? The next time you're tempted to take the shortcut, you have a ballot in your hand. Will you cast it for mediocrity or for integrity? You don't control everything about life. You don't control what happens to you. But you always control how you vote. And that choice, that vote, is not about perfection. It's about direction. When you start to see life this way, everything changes. The little things suddenly feel bigger. A morning routine isn't just a schedule, it's evidence. Keeping your word isn't just a commitment, it's a ballot. Listening when you'd rather talk isn't just politeness, it's a vote for the person you want to be. It's easy to talk about who you want to be. It's easy to dream about the future. But dreams don't decide elections. Votes do. So if you want to become someone different, start voting differently. If you want to be trusted, cast votes for honesty. If you want to be courageous, cast votes for action. If you want to be disciplined, cast votes for showing up. If you want to be kind, cast votes for compassion. Because the future is not a mystery. It's a result. It's the tally of your choices. And the ballot box is open today. One day, years from now, you'll meet the person you've become. You'll look in the mirror and see the winner of the election. And when that day comes, I hope you'll smile. I hope you'll be proud. I hope you'll recognize them not as a stranger, but as the inevitable result of thousands of small, intentional votes you cast along the way. Because every choice is a vote, and every vote matters. So I'll leave you with this question in this moment, with the ballot in your hand. Who are you voting for?